محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, all the praises to Allah, the Creator and the Sustainer of all things. And may the peace and blessings of Allah be on all of His prophets, from Adam to Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. So tonight we continue our explanation of Surah Yusuf. This will be part 6, Surah 12, and we left off last week with Ayah 49. After Yusuf had explained to the king and to the people the dream that the king was seeing. So the king in Ayah 50, he calls on his guards to bring Yusuf out of the prison and to bring him to himself, because this dream that the king was seeing, nobody was able to interpret it except Yusuf, peace be upon him. And therefore he is in essence saving Egypt, the entire kingdom, from famine that was going to strike the whole kingdom in 7 years. So we recall the dream was that 7 years, lush years, good years will happen first, and then followed by 7 years of drought and famine. Then 1 year everything goes back to the way it was, and the rain would return and the land would grow its vegetation again. And Yusuf advised them that during the first 7 years, do not consume everything that you harvest, but store all the surplus as much as you can and only consume what you need. And then the 7 years that are of drought, use the stored food, the stored wheat. Over the 7 years, it should last you until the rain returns. And this is a very intelligent way of preparing for years of drought. Right now there is a major drought across the Middle East, and many countries literally have only 3 months of reserve. If they don't get food imported from other countries like Russia and Ukraine, which produce a lot of wheat, but both countries are at war. So a lot of countries today are suffering. Prices are very high and resources are very limited, even though these countries themselves are producers. So they should have made a plan to prepare themselves and keep in their reserves for years of drought. Instead, bad economic policies lead, and bad governance leads to a lot of people starving and dying. And it also leads to war. It leads to a lot of people becoming angry with their governments. They overthrow their governments. And we have seen this play again and again, especially in Africa. We saw it in Sudan multiple times, in Somalia, that collapse of governments because of bad management of their economic resources. Sudan, for example, is a very rich country in terms of resources. They have the Blue Nile and the White Nile, plenty of water. The size of Sudan is the size of Europe, the whole continent of Europe. in terms of land. And it's all agricultural land that's rich. They have plenty of water, plenty of land, and plenty of people to plant and harvest those millions of acres. However, they have bad management. They don't take care of these resources. They have huge animal resource, cows and sheep and goats. Again, because of bad distribution, right now there is famine going on in Sudan. There is war, and a lot of people are dying, and there is famine. Even though Sudan has oil and has a lot of gold. So the interpretation of the dream was more than just a dream. Allah inspired, made that king see the dream again and again and again. So he understood this is a message from the Creator. He needed someone to explain it, to understand it. We remember in a page ago, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the beginning, his father, Yaqub, told Yusuf, when he saw the first dream, that the sun and the moon and 11 planets are prostrating to him, his father, Yaqub alayhi salam, peace be upon him, he told him, I believe Allah will make you a prophet and make you able to interpret dreams, visions. And when he was in Egypt and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the ability to understand and explain dreams, Allah said in Ayah 21, وَكَذَلِكَ مَكَّنَّا لِيُوسُفَ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلِنُعَلِّمَهُ مِنْ تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ. We have established Yusuf in the land of Egypt, and we will teach him the explanation of those dreams. So here he explained the dream to the king, and the king felt all of these advisors around him are useless. They all couldn't interpret a dream. They couldn't understand what's going to happen. So that raised the rank of Yusuf in the eyes of the king, that he said, why is this man in prison? Bring him to me. He should be my advisor. وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ ائْتُونِي بِهِ. The king said, bring him to me. فَلَمَّا جَاءَهُ الرَّسُولُ. When the messenger of the king went to the prison to bring him out, Yusuf didn't want to come out just like that, because he was thrown in the prison while he's innocent. He didn't commit any crime. So he wanted to clear his name. He wanted to expunge the charge that was against him. How did they throw him in prison? They charged him with an assault, sexual assault against the wife of the prime minister. So Yusuf said, I'm not coming out. قال ارجع إلى ربك. Go back to your Lord, to your king. فاسأل, ask him, ما بال النسوة اللاتي قطعن أيديهن? What's the story of the women who cut their hands? إن ربي بكيدهن عليم. He said, my Lord, meaning Allah, knows what they have plotted against me. قال ما خطبكن إذ راوتن يوسف. So the king brought these women and said, what's your story when you tempted Yusuf against himself? قلنا حاشا لله ما علمنا عليه من سوء. They said, we seek refuge in Allah. We didn't see anything wrong with him. He didn't do anything. He was innocent. قالت امرأة العزيز الآن حصحص الحق. Now the wife of Al-Aziz, she admitted, said, now the truth has come out. أنا راودته عن نفسه. I'm the one who tempted him against himself. وإنه لمن الصادقين, and he is among the truthful. Meaning he is one of those who are truthful in everything he says. ذلك ليعلم أني لم أخنه بالغيب وأن الله لا يهدي كيد الخائنين. That's so he would know that I would not betray him while he is not present, and that Allah does not guide the effort of those who betray the truth. وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي, and I do not exonerate myself. So she is admitting her guilt, that it was her fault, it's all made up, and she wronged this innocent man, and he spent many years in prison. Like so many stories we hear about today of people who are thrown in prison for many years because of a crime they didn't commit. This week there was a story on the radio of these kinds of exonerations. A man who was up for parole in Chicago. This man was accused of, him and a friend of his, of killing a man and his wife in 1972 and taking their property. There was no direct evidence except a police report, but the jury convicted them. Because they were black men and the jury was white. And the police report said they did it even though they didn't have DNA, they didn't have anything, only because somebody, the ones who did the crime, jumped in a taxi and they left the taxi near these people. And when the police approached them, they ran away from the police. They were young. This man was young. Now he is, after spending 53 years in prison, for a crime he didn't commit, he has been up in front of the parole board many times, and they keep convicting him and keeping him in prison. And every time they ask him to accept that he committed the crime, he said, I'm innocent. And the parole board said, as long as you say you're innocent, you're going to stay in prison. He said, but I didn't commit the crime. I'm innocent. Now he is old and sick and may die in prison for a crime he didn't commit. And unfortunately, because of racism, there's a lot of people like that. And there was a man with him in the prison, that this man, his record is great. In prison, he's a model prisoner, And he helped another man who is in prison, who was also exonerated and came out and sued the city and got, $2 million or $20 million for so many years in prison, and while he's innocent. So this man is trying to help this old man. He said, he helped me to get me out and to win this. So I want to help him to come out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed us that even a great prophet who is most innocent can land in prison, not because he did anything, but because there is in this world injustice. And the only way for justice to happen is for the hereafter, for a day of judgment to be there. If life was it, how many innocent people are punished like that? How many people have died like the people in Gaza in the genocide, the women, the children? Where is justice to be served for these people? In this world, there is no such justice. The rich, the powerful, sits in the White House, even though there's so many crimes he committed. And those who are innocent, they sit in jail or in prison. So this is one of the key reasons why there has to be a day of judgment. If we don't believe in a day of judgment, then this world doesn't make any sense. Then God is not just and not fair. If He gives us this one life and all the people who face injustice, those who are killed, those who are raped, they can never get justice. But because there is a day of judgment, we know that justice will be ultimately served for all the 67,000 Palestinians women and children who were killed. There is a day of judgment where they will stand in front of Allah against those who killed them. So the wife of Al-Aziz, she said, I do not exonerate myself. وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ. He said, the nafs commands you to do what's wrong. We always have to fight against our own nafs. The Prophet ﷺ, peace be upon him, he said, أَعْدَى أَعْدَائِكَ نَفْسُكَ الَّتِي بَيْنَ جَنْبَيْكَ. He said, your worst enemy is your nafs that's between your two sides. You are your own worst enemy. If you don't control yourself and control your greed, control your temper, control your decisions, you are going to land yourself in hell. You're going to take yourself to hell. We often blame other people and don't take any blame. We don't take any responsibility for the decisions we make. But on the day of judgment, Allah will make your own body witness against you. Your skin, your hands, your own body, your feet, everything will be given the power to express and show the evidence of the things you have chosen to do. So admitting, like here the wife of Al-Aziz admitted her guilt in hopes that Allah would forgive her. So she said, I don't exonerate myself. I admit I was guilty. Because the nafs commands you to do wrong. إِلَّا مَا رَحِمَ رَبِّي, except the ones who Allah is merciful to them. Like the prophets. They are very strict on their nafs. They control what they say and what they do. So this is from the mercy of Allah. Inna Rabbi Ghafurun Rahim. She stated, my Lord is forgiving and merciful. So Allah heard that, what she said, and He recorded it as Quran for us to read till the end of time. Which means Allah has forgiven her for her guilt, for her mistake, for what she did to this great prophet, because she acknowledged it was her fault, her mistake, and understood that Allah is forgiving and merciful. In the grand scheme of things, Allah had pre-planned what was going to happen to Yusuf. He's the one who brought him from Palestine took him to Egypt as a child because of his brothers plotting. And they plotted to kill him, but Allah made him survive and live in a palace. In the palace, the wife plotted against him. He ended up in prison, thinking that will, make him go away. But instead, Allah brought him right out of the prison and made him the prime minister. وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ ائْتُونِي بِهِ أَسْتَخْلِصْهُ لِنَفْسِي. In ayah 54, the king said, bring him to me. He is my special private advisor. He is the closest to me. فَلَمَّا كَلَّمَهُ, when he spoke to him, قَالَ إِنَّكَ الْيَوْمَ لَدَيْنَا مَكِينٌ أَمِينٌ. He said, today you are the strongest man in Egypt. No one can touch you. You are the most trusted in Egypt. You have been exonerated. The woman admitted her guilt. You are innocent. You have been wronged and thrown in prison for many years. And you are the one who is saving the whole kingdom. You are the closest person to the king. قال اجعلني على خزائن الأرض إني حفيظ عليم. He said, appoint me to be in charge of the treasures of the earth, so I can manage this drought that's coming up. إني حفيظ عليم. Indeed, I am a good keeper and knowledgeable person in this field. So it is right for a person who has the skills and the talents to ask for a job that he is the best in. Yusuf didn't say, no, don't choose me, choose somebody else now. That's not being humble. He knew he was the best for the job. He understood what needs to be done. He wanted to save the lives of so many people. So he said, give me that assignment, I'll take care of it. وَكَذَلِكَ مَكَّنَّا لِيُوسُفَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Allah said, as such, all these events, one led to another, led to him being established in the land of Egypt as the most important figure. يَتَبَوَّأُ مِنْهَا حَيْثُ يَشَاءُ. He can go anywhere in Egypt as he wish. He can ask the royal guard, take me here, take me there. He's the boss. He came from being, small shepherd, humble beginnings, to now he is really, literally ruling Egypt. But that was done by the plan of Allah. See, the long arch. This is 40 years later. It took so many years for this to happen, so many events, one leading to the other. Now, he is the man in charge of all of Egypt. He said, نُصِيبُ بِرَحْمَتِنَا مَن نَشَاءُ. We make our mercy go to whoever we choose. Meaning Allah chooses who His mercy is going to go to. Allah chose for him. His brothers are not in this. His brothers that plotted against him, we will see what's going to happen to them. But he is the man who Allah has chosen him from among the entire family and made him the man. There are so many people in Egypt, but he was taken above everybody else to lead the whole country, the whole kingdom. It was a kingdom at the time. He said, وَلَا نُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. We do not waste the reward of those who are muhsineen. Who are muhsineen? The perfectionists, those who worship Allah as if they are seeing Him. If they don't see Him, they know He is seeing them. So they are always watching what they do and what they say. He said, وَلَا أَجْرُ الْآخِرَةِ خَيْرٌ. And even though he has been brought to prominence, became the governor of Egypt, but Allah said, but the reward of the akhirah is even better than that. Meaning, don't focus on, I want to be a king in this world. You're going to be for a short time. At what price? It's a huge responsibility. But remember that being in Jannah in the Akhirah is better than everything in this world. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لَمَوْضِعُ قَوْسِ أَحَدِكُمْ فِي الْجَنَّةِ خَيْرٌ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا وَمَا فِيهَا. He said, the place where you hang your bow and arrow in Jannah, a small place like that is better than everything in this world that you're lusting after. But this reward, خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. It is for who? For people who have two qualities. They believed and they had taqwa. لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. Now, the brothers of Yusuf come. So, we are changing scene. Yusuf is in charge. 7 years, good years have come. A lot of rain, a lot of harvest. He is collecting this harvest and storing it. By the way, they found some of the remains of those storage places that Yusuf has designed and they built to store the harvest in, and from 4,000 years ago. And the years of famine began. The drought hit the Middle East, no rain. The land is dry and cracking, no harvest. People start suffering. They need, food. So everybody heard Egypt is doing great. Egypt is prepared, Egypt has food. So near Egypt, in the Holy Land, in Palestine, lives the brothers of Yusuf, those 11 who were plotting against him, or the 10 that were plotting against him, plus his brother Binyamin. So they decided, they were sent by their father to Egypt to seek help. وَجَاءَ إِخْوَةُ يُوسُف. Ayah 58, he said, the brothers of Yusuf came, فَدَخَلُوا عَلَيْهِ. They came and entered to the palace to ask help from the man in charge. فَعَرَفَهُمْ. He recognized them immediately. He knew his brothers. وَهُمْ لَهُ مُنْكِرُونَ. But on the other hand, they couldn't recognize him because they left him when he was a kid. They were bigger, older than him, adults. And he has changed. Now he is dressed like an Egyptian. In their mind, Yusuf is gone, dead, long time ago. There is no connection. They couldn't tell that this could be him, even if he resembled Yusuf. So we would leave you here, since the adhan is called, with this cliffhanger. So you, inshallah, continue not next week. We will take off next week. The week after, inshallah. We'll pick up from ayah 59, where he prepared them and asked them to bring his brother to Egypt. If you have any quick questions, we can answer those. Yes. Very good question. So in the hadith, Most of us, we seek a position that we're not qualified for or above our level. We just, by nature, we like prestige. We like to be in a place where we feel, why them, not me? We see this in the elections in this country for all levels, from school board to the presidency, people running for office. And you tell me, what's the qualifications of President Trump right now to be president? He doesn't have the qualifications for it, okay? Nor many of the people around him. There are very qualified people in this country, but he's seeking it, he sought it, he did a bad job in the first term, now he is making a bigger mess, okay? Not because out of the 360 million Americans there is nobody as good as him, but it's this greed. So it's human nature that we always want to do that. And when Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, "Istamilni, give me some position," he said, "No." He said, "You have a temper, and it's a big responsibility. I don't advise you." Okay. Then he said this hadith that you mentioned. He said, "Do not seek a position, okay? But if you were assigned, then take it, and Allah will help you to fulfill that position." Right? So that's the general rule. To fight against your nafs, against your soul, that this greed, that I want something that I am not qualified for. But if you are really qualified for something, Allah will make the reasons for you to become that person. Right? And Yusuf, when he asked for that, he knew that he was the most qualified for it. So how do you judge? Is when you actually doing it not because you're greedy, not because you know somebody else is equally qualified or more qualified and yet you compete with them. No. If you find somebody who's better qualified, you step aside and let them lead. Okay? But Yusuf looked at the people around the king. None of them has the knowledge, the experience, the qualifications to do this. This is a major event for the next 15 years. Is going to cause not just Egypt impacted, the whole Middle East, and the whole Middle East is going to depend on Egypt. So in that case, there's nothing wrong with saying, give me this responsibility. And he said in it, in that ayah, قَالَ اجْعَلْنِي عَلَى خَزَائِنِ الْأَرْضِ. He said, appoint me on the treasures of the earth. إِنِّي حَفِيظٌ عَلِيمٌ. He said, Hafidh means good keeper. Okay? Alim, knowledgeable. So he gave us the reasons why he is seeking that position. Not like so many people, they just want to fill their pockets. In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, in the Battle of Mu'tah, he sent 3,000 companions from Medina to Palestine because the Romans were massing an army to invade Medina. Okay? They learned about the Prophet, they learned about this, and they decided, you know what? We're going to send an army preemptively, take them out, destroy Medina and kill the Prophet and his companions. And they were asking, there were two big Arab tribes, Christian tribes, Al-Ghassasina, Bani Ghassan. They were preparing this army. They're Arab Christians. So as they were gathering their army, the Prophet ﷺ had what we call it eyes, meaning spies, people who are monitoring. He's not sleeping. He is monitoring all his neighbors, all the tribes, what they are doing, if anybody is trying to invade them. So his eyes came back and said to him, there is an order from the Romans, from Herakl, to prepare a big army from Arab tribes, Christian tribes, to invade Medina. So Allah instructed him after Badr in Surah Al-Anfal, Surah 8, He said, you start preemptively to prevent something like this from happening. You surprise them. So he sent 3,000 fighters and he appointed 3 leaders. Okay. And the reason he appointed 3 leaders, he told them, if the first one, was killed, because he's sending only 3,000, that's all what he can amass, against the estimate. They say that the people that were gathered were over 100,000 fighters that were going to come over to take Medina. So the odds are huge. 3,000 against 100,000. So the Prophet ﷺ, he was informed by Jibreel that these leaders are going to get killed. So he said, the first leader, Abdullah ibn Rawaha, if he is killed, then the next leader will take his place. His cousin, the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. You remember Ja'far, who argued in front of the king in Al-Habasha, in Abyssinia? He had returned. He just returned from Abyssinia, so Rasulullah ﷺ, he's the brother of Ali, the older brother of Ali. He sent him as a leader of this army. Because he's from his family, he's putting his family on the line. He said, if Ja'far is killed, then he put the third leader, his adopted son, Zayd ibn Haritha. So he said, if Zayd is killed, then the sword of Allah will take over the army. He didn't give the name of the person. So this army marched, they went, they met that big army, they fought them. Okay. First day, they found that you cannot, it's huge. It's 100,000. So the first leader is gone, the second leader, and the Prophet was in Medina, standing on the minbar and telling the Sahaba what's happening. Jibreel was showing him like TV, okay, live feed, showing him. He said, Abdullah ibn Rawaha has been killed. And the flag is now in the hand of Ja'far. And then he said, Ja'far is killed. Now it's in the hands of Zayd. And now Zayd is killed. He said, and the sword of Allah took the flag. Usually the one who's carrying the flag is the one who's the leader, who's going to be. So it was Khalid ibn Walid. So Rasulullah ﷺ nicknamed him the sword of Allah from a distance. And Khalid has just accepted Islam. So in that, Rasulullah ﷺ didn't appoint Khalid. Right? But Khalid understood that he is the most qualified among all the people, the leaders there. So he took it upon himself. This is dangerous. These 3,000 will be wiped out. So who is he going to wait for? He's going to wait for some elections? He had to make swift decision. So he took the leadership. The people knew Khalid was the most qualified. And they listened to him. Because they remember just short time ago that he was in Uhud, in the Battle of Uhud, as a non-believer against the Prophet ﷺ, and he caused the defeat in Uhud. When he waited in the beginning of the battle, he didn't fight. Waited until the people that were on the hill came down. He went around and turned the victory into a loss. So the Prophet ﷺ made efforts to bring him over to his side, sent his brother and said, if Khalid comes to me, I'll make him the general of the army. So when Khalid took over, right, he did it by his knowledge and experience that he is the man of war. He's the best qualified. And Rasulullah ﷺ in Medina confirmed him as the sword of Allah. So if you are in a situation, let's say there's fire in here, and nobody knows what to do, and you are experienced with fire, it's upon you to go and deal with it. Okay? Don't wait for permission from anyone. You have to do it. And Khalid didn't wait for permission. He did that, maneuvered against the Roman army, came up with a very smart idea, and then he pulled the army back all the way to Medina safely. Saved the entire army. And Rasulullah ﷺ came out to welcome them himself. So there is this balance between don't seek a position when you know other people are more qualified than you. On the other hand, if you know that you're the most qualified and this is important, like here, saving the lives of so many people, then you have to step forward and take your responsibility. Otherwise, Allah will ask you on the Day of Judgment. You knew what to do. Let's say you are a pilot on a flight and the pilot had a heart attack and there is nobody to fly the plane. You're all going to crash. You don't say, well, I'm a pilot, but right now I'm just a passenger. No, it's your responsibility to jump in the cockpit and land the plane safely. Okay? That's how in Islam there is this balance between the two positions. So we don't seek through fighting through election to win somewhere, but if you are appointed, take that responsibility. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala educate us and help us to understand His book. Jazakumullah khair. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.